That evening, Aiko dragged herself home, her body heavy with exhaustion. As she stepped inside, the comforting aroma of dinner wafted through the air, teasing her senses. Despite how tempting it was, the thought of food only reminded her of how drained she felt. Passing the kitchen, she caught sight of her mom bustling about, preparing their meal.
Mom!
Aiko murmured softly, her voice barely above a whisper.
You're back. Dinner's almost ready. Why don't you take a bath first?
Her mom suggested, glancing up briefly before turning her attention back to the stove. Aiko replied, her words laced with weariness. She shuffled to her room, dropped her backpack near her desk, and then headed straight for the bathroom. Kneeling by the bathtub, Aiko turned on the faucet and watched as steaming hot water poured out, the gentle sound soothing her frayed nerves. Soon, the bathroom was enveloped in a warm mist, turning the space into a private sanctuary. Aiko exhaled deeply, letting the tension in her shoulders melt away. Once the tub was full, she slipped out of her clothes and sank into the inviting water. The day had been long and grueling, and the warmth embraced her like a soft blanket. Her body relaxed completely, her eyelids growing heavy. But every time she let them close, a familiar face crept into her mind. The image was so vivid that it kept her from fully drifting off. Eventually she sighed, stepping out of the tub and wrapping herself in a towel. After getting dressed, she made her way to the kitchen, the aroma of food greeting her once more. The dining table was set with an assortment of dishes, each more enticing than the last.
Dinner's ready,
her mom said warmly, her smile as inviting as the meal itself. Aiko's stomach growled in response, but her thirst took precedence. She opened the fridge, grabbed a bottle of soda, and took a long, satisfying drink. Just as she placed the bottle down, the doorbell rang.
Aiko, can you get the door?
Sure.
Aiko replied, her curiosity piqued. Could it be her dad? Did he forget his keys? She opened the door and froze, her eyes widening in disbelief. Standing there was the face that had haunted her thoughts just moments ago. For a moment, they simply stared at each other, words caught in their throats.
Why is it you again?
Finally, Aiko broke the silence, her tone tinged with incredulity. Before he could respond, her mom appeared, her cheerful voice breaking through the awkwardness.
Haruto, you're here. Come on in,
she said, ushering him inside. Still dazed, Haruto followed her to the dining table, where the tension between him and Aiko lingered like a stubborn shadow. The silence at the table grew heavier with each passing moment, prompting Aiko's mom to step in.
Haruto, how's the food?
She asked, her tone light and encouraging.
It's amazing. I haven't had such a delicious meal in a long time.
Haruto's face lit up as he took another bite. Aiko kept her gaze fixed on her plate, barely acknowledging him. Sensing her daughter's discomfort, her mom turned to her with a knowing smile.
Haruto was such a help today. One of my grocery bags tore open on the way home and everything spilled out. Haruto was kind enough to help me pick everything up and even walked me home. He just moved in next door.
What? He lives next door!
Aiko blurted, her head snapping up in surprise.
Yeah, I just moved in recently.
Haruto said, scratching the back of his neck awkwardly.
Oh, I made soup. Aiko, can you bring it from the kitchen?
Her mum suddenly remembered something.
Sure,
Aiko said, rising from her chair. As she ladled the soup into bowls, a playful idea struck her. Smirking, she grabbed the pepper shaker and poured an excessive amount into one bowl. The pungent smell nearly made her sneeze, but she couldn't resist the mischief bubbling inside her. Grinning to herself, she returned to the table and placed the spicy bowl in front of Haruto.
Thanks,
Haruto said, lifting the bowl to his lips. He took a big sip and immediately froze.
Atsu!
His face contorted, and a violent sneeze erupted, sending bits of soup and food flying straight onto Aiko's face. Time seemed to stand still. Aiko sat frozen in shock, her face covered in remnants of Haruto's meal.
I am so sorry.
Haruto, horrified, scrambled to apologize. His face flushed with embarrassment. That night, Aiko lay in bed, unable to sleep. The events of the evening replayed in her mind, and frustration kept her tossing and turning. Finally, she got up and stepped onto the balcony for some fresh air. That's when she noticed a paper airplane resting on the ground. Curious, she picked it up and unfolded it. Inside, she found a handwritten note.
I'm sorry, Aiko. I didn't mean it. Please forgive me, okay?
At the bottom, a simple smiley face was doodled. Reading the note, Aiko couldn't help but laugh softly, her frustration melting away.